110 seconds. 100 seconds. 90 seconds. 80 seconds. 70 seconds. 60 seconds. 50 seconds. 40 seconds. 30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds.
'Hi,
my name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Okay, my friends, it's time to get our talk on. Once again, it's Morning Talk with me, your host, J. Stan McCauley, along with the champions of talk. This morning, talk champion in the house. None other than the one and only Jonathan Small. How you doing this morning, Jonathan?
Doing fine, and you, Stan? It's a pleasure to be back here again. Look forward to it every Monday.
Good weekend?
Good weekend. Nice weekend. Good weekend. First weekend of April felt real nice outside yesterday in particular. And just enjoying, I guess we're in springtime now, the springtime of the year.
It would seem so. Got get adjusted to the weather.
Kind of. It's a little bit easier this time because we had such a mild winter, so it's not like we're coming out of a major cold winter where you're still adjusting. Because, I mean, it's a little dippy. I mean, the windows had a little frost on it this morning, to be honest. The car windows, just a little slight frost. But, you know, pretty soon the grass will be growing. It'll be time to cut the grass, you know. Flowers will be blooming. You know,
it'll be hot. Folk will be complaining about how hot it is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. The heat wave of 23.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was like it's like it was, there was no winter.
That's what I'm saying. We really didn't have much of a winter.
Yeah.
You know.
Maybe it'll snow this summer.
Anything is possible. You know, don't count anything out.
Absolutely.
Big championship game tonight. Connecticut is on the map.
Big game, 9:30 tonight. You know, so that way the whole country can enjoy the game. Some have questioned, why so late? Well, you know, it's not that late out in California.
That's right, 3-hour difference.
Yeah.
And I think it's the prime time schedule between, isn't it 8 to 9 or something like prime time is 8 to 9 or 9 to 10? I'm not exactly sure, but I think it's kind of the prime time.
It's still in prime time East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 9:30. Oh yeah. What is it going to be on? Is it on one of the sports channels? It's on the network channel?
It's on the network channel, CBS.
Oh, CBS Sports. All right, cool. Well, I guess it's an opportunity for UConn to bring home the championship trophy.
Well, you got to understand, UConn is 4-0 in the NCAA championship tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just don't lose in the tournament championship.
Right.
And if they win tonight, it'll be the 5th championship in 25 years, over a 25-year span,
Mm-hmm.
which would be I guess that's the highest ranking over the past 25 years.
And that's been under different coaches too.
This is the third. I think this is the third different coach that we would have.
Right, Jim Calhoun.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the numbers that you're talking about, does that include Calhoun's reign?
It does.
Okay.
Calhoun won the first one in, I believe, 1999.
Mm-hmm.
And then, don't count me, the early 2000s, could have been 2003 or 2004. And Calhoun won the third one, I believe, in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. And then Kevin Ollie, I believe his name is, 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And this one now is 2023. And I feel pretty confident that, UConn is going to win. But don't become overconfident.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take this game for granted. There's a sense of pride when, your state is on the map for the NCAA tournament championship. People in stores, Connecticut is already probably prepared to celebrate. But you got to win the game, you understand? You got to play the game first.
Absolutely. I'm sitting here, quite amazed at your wealth of information. Well, Jonathan's like a walking encyclopedia of knowledge.
Oh, okay.
I was like he remembers everything, And so.
But don't quote me on those exact year dates now. I'm just assuming. I know 1999 for sure, and 2012 and 2014. Now the second one, 2003 or 4. I'm not exactly sure, but it was one of those 2-year periods, and it's really going to be a good time to be in Connecticut when you are the champions.
It is a good time. All right, well, in the background we have the great Jay Hogarth playing in the background. Several cuts off of his new album is what we've got going for our background music and opening music throughout the program. But today, of course, is Monday. And Jonathan has found another great guest for us, as is his gift of getting guests continues from guest number 1 to the guest we have now. So he's the official booker of guests, and our guests come to share their wisdom and knowledge about all kinds of topics, and that's why we have them here. So with that, let's have our special guest of the week, Mr. Small. You have the floor.
Well, good morning to people out there on Morning Talk Live with J. Stan McCauley Talk Show. This morning we have a political specialist. He runs as part of running a major city in the United States on the city government level. He is also involved in many other civic areas, I believe certain areas dealing with the homelessness issues in the Nashville, Davidson County metropolitan area. And he does a lot of media coverage for city government in Nashville, Tennessee, to go along with many other duties. This guest this morning on Morning Talk Live with J. Stan McCauley Talk Show is no other than the Vice Mayor of Nashville, Tennessee, to go along with President of the Metropolitan Council of Nashville, Tennessee, and Davidson County. I guess all in one, Nashville, Davidson County, Tennessee, no other than Jim Shulman. Good morning, Jim. How are you doing?
Jonathan, good morning. And Stan, thank you for having me on your show this morning.
Okay.
Thanks for coming in.
It's our pleasure. Jim, before we get into our topics of discussion, could you kind of let people know a little bit about yourself and your position briefly?
Sure. So I'm originally from Upper East Tennessee, from a community called Johnson City, Tennessee. It's way up in the upper east corner of the state. If you if you know where Knoxville is, which is where the University of Tennessee is, you still go 2 hours east and you'll run into Johnson City. It's the home of East Tennessee State University, and a great place to grow up in the corners where the mountains start, up near North Carolina. I went to school at Vanderbilt, and then just stayed down here, went to law school, and stayed in this community. Been pretty active for the last 40 years in Nashville, and a lot of the things that go on. And Jonathan, you're right. I'm particularly interested in trying to deal with individuals and families experiencing homelessness in Nashville. Been involved in a lot of other different things. The vice mayor of Nashville is an elected position. It runs at the same time as the mayor. Nashville and Davidson County became a metropolitan form of government in 1963. It was 60 years ago. And so they merged the city and the county governments. And people like to say historically that when they were trying to figure out how to make the thing work, there were lots of people, lots of individuals on the city government and on the county government. And in order to kind of make everybody happy, they kind of merged those governments and the legislative body, and they ended up with 40 members, which composed the Metropolitan Council. Vice mayor again runs separate from the mayor, and the vice mayor is in charge of running the city council meetings. So we actually have one tomorrow night. We meet the first and third Tuesdays of the month because Nashville is a booming place. We have lots of bills up on the calendar. A lot of zoning bills, and we actually tomorrow night are considering two other major measures. One is looking at the documents to actually build a new dome stadium where our NFL team, the Tennessee Titans, would play. And we also have a measure up. We have a public hearing up tomorrow. We don't necessarily get along with our Republican state legislature, and they have passed a measure to decrease the size of our body from 40 down to no more than 20. And we are trying to figure out what to do with that. We have we have sued the state over that, and there's a hearing in the morning on that. A lot of stuff going on besides some really, really tragic events that happened last Monday.
Well, excuse me. Obviously, Jim, it's been a real busy week in Nashville, and since last Monday with the tragedy at the private Christian school, and I believe that was an elementary school, or definitely I'm looking at children 9 years old of age, so I would assume we're talking...
It's K through 6.
K through 6, okay. Basically, when you heard of the news of the tragedy, what was the first thought that came to your mind when you heard about this incident where the woman, I guess, shot herself or shot the door to get inside the school and end up killing, was it 6 people in total, I believe, or 9?
Yeah,
six people?
3 adults and 3 children.
Okay, 6 people in total, 3 children, 3 adults. What was the first thing that came to your mind when you heard about that incident?
Well, so the school, the Covenant School, is located in the Green Hills area of Nashville, which is where I'm from. So it's not far from here.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually in the library, the Green Hills Library. I had stopped at the post office and run into the library. I was trying to look through some documents, and I was trying to find a quiet place to read, and hadn't been in the library in a while. And so I stopped in and got a ping through my phone about a shooting. Initially, I thought that they had talked about the night before that something had happened near the school. Then, and so immediately sent it out to the district council member, and then started hearing helicopters. The library then announced that there was an active shooter in the area, and they were going to lock down. We could leave, but people couldn't come in. Then I got some additional information that it was a school shooting, and then I heard from the district council member that said that there had been casualties. what goes through your mind at that point? You're not really sure what's going on, because you've got a limited amount of information. Um, Left the library, went outside. There were sirens all over the place, and then checked my messages again. And the shooting was on one side of the Green Hills area, and the indication was that parents were to go to another location, Woodmont Baptist Church. And so I went to the church. I thought that was the better place for me to go. And then the events of the day sort of transpired after that.
Well, Jim, obviously you have to praise the Nashville Metro Police Department, because I believe they was able to arrive at the scene within 14 minutes, which clearly saved a lot of other lives, I guess, in this particular school. And had it not been for the response of the Nashville Metro Police Department, then who knows how many more people could have been killed. Obviously, we don't want to get into, I guess you have to get into it at some point, could this have been prevented? Was there some security mistakes? But if you break down the incident, I mean, I know there's a lot of division going on. Some people are feeling that in Tennessee, you should ban assault weapons. There's certain measures how people feel about that. But putting all of that aside, how important did the Metro Police of Nashville play a role in preventing more lives being killed in this particular incident?
So very proud of the Metro Nashville Police Department. I think they did an exceptional job. They responded quickly, and you may have seen the body cam footage, but they did what they were supposed to do. They had been trained on this. They got to the scene, got let in by one of the administrators of the school. And if you again watch the body cam footage, they went in and took care of the situation as quickly as they could. We're very proud of our police department. I'll tell you, Jonathan, they knowing that they did what they were supposed to do makes us feel very proud. I will also say that when I got to Woodmont Baptist, there were police officers who were, after they had taken care of the situation, ended up back at the church where the kids were coming, were extremely emotional, very upset, and just needed some time. But they stepped up. Now, we don't have all the details of what happened inside the school. What appears to happen is that they did have lockdown drills, and they followed their lockdown drills. We're not exactly sure what happened inside the school in terms of the individuals that were shot. What we believe is that the head administrator who was killed stepped up to try to protect those kids in that school. Again, at least I don't have all the details of what happened inside, but thanks to a number of people, and looks like a very, very, very well-trained staff at that school, and then the actions of our police department limited the amount of people who were shot and killed. But it's been a very difficult week for Nashville. I would say the city is very depressed, and also very, I guess, angry. Jonathan, tell you, I mean, we just like other communities in the country, we watch when these mass school shootings happen, and we watch parents with, running to places, to the schools, to places to find their kids with that look of terror in their face, and we witnessed that here last Monday.
And obviously, I mean, it's drawing a lot of controversy in many different areas towards, and I just mentioned earlier about banning assault weapons and other measures of mental health illness issues. But let's go back a little bit. The person that killed the 6 people at the Christian school, private Christian school, didn't that person used to go to that particular school, first of all?
Yeah, that individual attended that school at some point.
Mm-hmm. Now, this person was a transgender individual. Is this causing any motives behind why? I mean, could you think of any motives, even with the transgender issue and any other issue, why this person would do something like this? Or is it just too early to really figure out, and you don't have all of the details to kind of?
Well, I think it's still too early. There's been no indication of finding a motive in this. What I will say is that, when the community pulls together, but there obviously are some people that, were quick to blame and to say that this was because it was a transgender individual. I'm of the opinion that, look, we had 6 individuals that were killed, 7 if you count the shooter. These are Nashvillians. This happened. We obviously have a much bigger problem in this country.
Mm-hmm.
We just happen to be we're the ones that are now in the spotlight because we just had a mass shooting. But obviously, this has been going on for years, and so this country, ever since Columbine, leading through Sandy Hook and other places, this country has got to figure out how to stop this. And we're now on that list. When I said obviously the city is depressed, but I think it's a large number of people who are just extremely upset and angry and are demanding change. I've seen Parkland and Uvalde and Sandy Hook and other places where people step up and demand change. Well, we're now at that. We've been demanding change as throughout, but now it's happened here, and people want action. Well, they want changes in our laws.
Mm-hmm. Well, Vice Mayor Jim, first of all, let's kind of clarify if everybody's on the same page. You mentioned off of the air that Nashville, Tennessee is labeled as a blue city, blue metropolitan area. Tennessee is classified as a red state. Is there some division going on right now between Nashville and the state of Tennessee?
Yeah, so that's right. Nashville is a Democratic city in a extremely red state of Tennessee. And we're not, the city and the state are not getting along very well. We are trying to mend those relationships, but the state legislature just passed a bill that requires our city council, our Metropolitan Council, which is at 40 members, one of the larger ones in the country, but we have 40 members. We've had it since 1963. The law that is now in place that's being challenged by the state in litigation is requiring our Metropolitan Council to go to 20 or less members. So we're having to go from 40 to 20. There's a number of pieces of legislation that were filed this year to come after the city in terms of our airport authority, who picks members of the airport authority. The state's trying to get control. Question about our beer board and how they deal particularly with our downtown area. There are a number of other pieces of legislation that were filed directly aimed at Nashville. So before all this, relationships were not good. there are some of us who are trying to figure out how to at least try to repair some of those relationships. So, because let's face it, country's divided, we're divided, we have to figure out a way to get along. The legislature here in Tennessee is not going to go anywhere. Neither is the government of Nashville. But the relationship has not been very good. And now we've got a school shooting. And we had protests starting last week up at our legislative plaza outside of our state capitol. And there are more scheduled for today.
Well, Stan, let me bring you into the conversation. I guess you've heard of this incident like the rest of the country, but have you been following it enough to kind of give your opinion, if you have any questions to Jim? But are you a little bit surprised that even with a tragedy, it's still going to be politics being played, that, the state, let's say the state of Tennessee is looking to do one thing and the city of Nashville government is looking to do something else, that they can't put the differences aside for at least this particular incident for the best interests of the safety? I mean, I don't have all of the facts and details, but I'm just trying to get your opinion on this incident.
I think, it's unfortunate that we have tragedies such as the one that happened in Nashville and continue to happen around the country. But the differences of opinion and the differences in solutions don't take a back seat to the tragedies. Sometimes the tragedies help actually bring those differences to the surface because people genuinely disagree about how to fix problems and what are the best solutions.
Right.
And the polarization of the company, as our guests talked about, with the division, people they're driven further and further apart. And the more that happens, the more entrenched people become, because you've got to have some place where you actually have conversations that lead to consensus and some compromise to work on a solution.
Right.
And so, as he said, the city's not going anywhere, the state's not going anywhere, Nashville's not going anywhere, Tennessee's not going anywhere. So at some point, people have to sit down and talk. And that's, one of the things that actually makes the country a pretty good country.
Right.
Because you can sit down and talk. And people aren't, rioting in the streets per se. I mean, a lot not being said right now about what's going on in Israel. And other countries around the world where people are just en masse taking to the streets because of their disagreements and things breaking down. So it's always very important to keep these conversations going, but the conversations have to lead to some sort of a fix. And so, unfortunately, what you see in Nashville is, as our guest has mentioned, Vice Mayor has mentioned, the United States has a serious problem. It's a serious problem, and I believe that the genesis of it is the mental health of our people.
Right.
And mental health is one of those things that you don't talk about. It's kind of like whispered. We'll handle it inside the family, those kinds of things. But you can't handle certain things inside the family if they affect people outside the family. But the whole country has had this kind of approach to mental health, and you're starting to see these things happening more and more and more. And until there's a real serious conversation among our, political leaders and community leaders, business leaders, that this is something that's going to take the forefront, we're not going to see much of a change, because unfortunately we're the conversation is around what we do about what happened, as opposed to how do we prevent this in a serious way without blaming one another. I mean, that's my take.
Well, do you have a question you want to ask Mayor Jim, or anything?
I don't necessarily have a question. It would seem to me that the legislature. My only question really would be about what the Tennessee legislature is doing to Nashville, and it seems like just political punishment. how many state legislatures intervene in the municipalities' affairs. Start redistricting and cutting up stuff because they're mad.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff that we're talking about, and it just keeps polarizing, and it becomes tit for tat. Someone has to step up to the plate. But I don't really have any questions because I'm listening.
Yes. Okay.
It's very, very interesting, though.
Very,
very interesting. I mean,
definitely.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know where to begin with this.
Yeah.
We're gonna cut your city council down. Well, we think you should have one city councilor, so we pass a edict from on high, which that's just absurd to me.
But you're right. Well, Vice Mayor Shulman, do you feel somewhat optimistic that some things you're going to make some type of progress working with the Tennessee government, or do you honestly just feel like this thing could just become more worse and really nothing gets really resolved the way you feel it should be? Let's just be honest when you're getting to a major political decisions.
Let's put it this way. Doing nothing is not an option. Whatever we've been doing over the last many years in terms of trying to deal with this is not working. So ran into one of our state representatives and one of our state senators yesterday, and both are from Nashville, and both are Democratic, but they I'm not exactly trying to say this, but they have said that they think that this shook a number of members of the legislature, and it obviously should have. We are a very gun-friendly state. We pass lots of laws protecting people with guns. We try to give guns to everybody, and then let them walk around with no permits. And there are laws and resolutions trying to protect gun manufacturers in Tennessee. There's lots of legislation that are designed to protect gun owners. I think, I understand the Second Amendment, but I also have serious concerns about allowing people, particularly with certain backgrounds and mental health issues, to have possessions of weapons that can harm lots and lots of people. So what I heard yesterday was that there has been some discussions. Our legislature convened in January, and they have a deadline to file pieces of legislation. It's my understanding that at least on, I know on I think on the House side, I'm not sure on the Senate side, but there has been they're going to maybe open that window that was closed to allow some other pieces of legislation to get filed. And there seems to be some movement on red flag laws in Tennessee, which deal with, either the police and or families can notify or put on a list that certain people should not be able to buy weapons, which is a protection for themselves and for others. And I think there's discussion now about background checks, which is a start. This is so if we can actually do that, that's a start for a state that has particularly been very anti any type of regulations regarding guns. This is obviously, this whole thing is happening all over the country. It has happened here, and we have to appropriately respond. Now, I think there are people that have been pushing for common sense laws for a long time in Tennessee, and have pushed that, and they've had some success. But again, Tennessee is a very gun-friendly state. Now, legislature a long time ago took away the authority of a local body like ours to have any type of regulation over guns. So we can't regulate any of it at a local level. Or else we probably would have we would have taken more steps. But this is a serious conversation, and I know it's happened in other parts of the country, but it's a serious conversation. And not only do we have to have conversations between the cities and counties of Tennessee, but also with the legislature, but also with our federal folks. And so I had a chance to talk to one of our United States senators last week, and said, I need to talk to you. I need to have a conversation. Now, obviously the Washington has its own set of issues regarding divisiveness, but I always feel that the leaders of our country have to deal with issues regarding the health and well-being of our citizens. And so, if Columbine didn't change a lot of the way we do things in this country, I thought Sandy Hook would lead to significant changes. And, thanks to the people that run the Sandy Hook Promise, that they, I think, have done an exceptional job of just pushing to make sure that people are aware of what's going on. And they've now got Nashville added to the list of wrong cities that have run into these problems, these serious, horrible, tragic events. And so we're now going to push as well.
Well, Vice Mayor Shulman, I think the major sticking point seems to be when you get into from what President Joe Biden is advocating, other U.S. Congress or U.S. senators, like we have Junior U.S. Senator Chris Murphy is constantly advocating the need to ban all assault weapons. And then you get into mental health illness issues. How do we really deal with that? Is there like a short-term solution or some type of compromise? Because Congress seems to be kind of dead set against banning assault weapons. And President Biden clearly is in favor of banning all assault weapons. I don't know the situation in Tennessee, but I think you're having a similar differences too about how do you attack certain guns. And you can make laws stricter, but I mean, let's be blunt. President Biden wants all assault weapons banned from being able to have the right to have access to an assault weapon. Just quickly, Stan, I know you always say it's not the gun that's the problem, it's the person. So even if it's not the gun, they're going to find another method. But
right, somebody intent on doing harm to somebody is not going to be stopped by a law. Refer to the grand narrative. Cain killed his brother,
right?
Abel. I don't know what he killed him with, but he killed him. And he didn't have a gun. And I don't necessarily have a problem with banning assault rifles. I don't have a problem with taking military grade, police, weapons off the street as well. Some of these armored vehicles that are not really necessary unless you're doing riot control. But the problem is the mental health. So one argument is a good one, but the other one needs to be more present. So before they talk about banning assault weapons, Chris Murphy, who lives 4 blocks from here, one of our senators, he needs to put mental health at the top of that list. All right, so the United States has a serious mental health issue, and we need to make resources available to address that. There needs to be some intentionality around how do we help people seek the help they need to resolve the internal conflicts they're having within their own head. Now, these individuals should not be allowed to have access to weapons that can easily be used to resolve conflicts that they perceive to be real that aren't. someone has a conflict when they walk into a school and kill innocent children, there's something wrong.
Right.
All right. And, they could have just as easily gone in there with Molotov cocktails and thrown, fire bombs or sticks of dynamite or run a car through. I mean, there's ways for people that are on the edge to, they just explode, and whatever's around them becomes a convenient thing. And so, how do we identify the warning signs? How do we have to care about one another. Mm-hmm. And I think we're losing our heart for one another. Life affirming, caring. That's your neighbor. You don't have to agree with them. You don't even really have to like them. Mm-hmm. But they're your neighbor. There's another human being. You can say hi to people. Can say hi to one another. And if I see anything going wrong with your house while you're on vacation, I'll look out for you. It doesn't mean you got to go over there and have dinner every week. Mm-hmm. But people have to care for one another. And as you see that starting to diminish, people are being polarized, and the country is falling apart into these isolated silos. And to me, that is not good. We have to have these conversations, no matter how hard they are, so that we can get beyond the conflict. Mm-hmm. If that makes any sense.
It does. I mean, I know that's how you feel personally. I mean, you made it very consistent over the years. That the mental health illness issues clearly has to be one of the top priorities. Vice Mayor Shulman, don't mean to really cut you off, but do you have any comments that you want to make or any response?
No, I'm listening because we all have to be a part of this conversation. Mm-hmm. What I would say is, so obviously I mentioned first the red flag laws and the background checks. That's, those are initial steps that we can take. The discussions, that longer range discussions about, and Stan's right in terms of the mental health piece. How do we better deal with that in this country? How do we pick it up early, whether it's in our schools or whether parents have a way, particularly if they see something, to get particularly young people, and we're talking about all people, but particularly catch it early, to get kids some help, some mental health treatment, so they deal with whatever trauma they're experiencing, and hopefully we can help. The question about assault weapons, we have so many guns in this country. I think what I would say is, and I haven't done a lot of research on this, but it seems that America in particular is the country that is having the most problems with this gun violence. Apparently, gun violence is the leading cause of death of our children now. We're doing something wrong. We're not, first of all, our policies are not working. And second of all, other countries are looking at us going like, what is going on over there? So I think we need to have a serious conversation. It needs to happen in Washington and across this country about what steps we should be taking. And so I know some people may not like that conversation, but we can't let this continue to happen. We have got to take some steps, some serious steps and some serious discussion, and people have to be willing to step up and lead and make some really hard decisions. But maybe going back to Stan's point, so again, short-term, long-term, but we have to have those discussions. We can't keep ignoring this, and we can't just not do anything. We have got to lay all the cards on the table. We have got to look at it from a common sense standpoint and figure out what is causing this, and then take steps to try to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think first of all, and I'm not an expert in this area, but I think long term the mental health issues is sort of going to be like the long term approach. You can start with the mental health initiative and you'll get some results. But this is a big, deep-rooted problem. So to try to get everybody in a proper sane mind where they can function normally, you got to start someplace. But I think don't expect something dramatic to happen. All of a sudden, people who got serious mental health issues, all of a sudden is going to be fixed just like that. That sounds like that would be the long-term approach. The short-term approach, I think, could kind of be the security measures. Do you want to have armed security officers in schools? It looks like to me now, if the Nashville Metro Police Department was able to respond in 14 minutes and save lives, you would have to believe if you had an armed police officer in a school working with the Nashville or any other city, police department, that could be a short-term security measure. So how do you feel about that, Vice Mayor, about, having armed security or armed security or armed police officers in some schools or all schools in Nashville?
I think, again, back to the short-term, long-term, until this country can figure out a plan to try to deal with whether it's mental health, whether it's assault weapons, whatever it is, we have to very, very quickly, and I know systems have done this, but we have to make sure that we protect our children. And if that means having more trained security, better. We had a situation last year at one of our elementary schools where someone tried to break into the building, and the staff was able to subdue that individual. Didn't have a weapon, but just trying to get into the building. What we immediately did was then take another look at our school security to make sure that we had all the proper steps in place that we could to try to protect both our children and the faculty and the administration of those schools. We have to take whatever steps are necessary to make sure that our kids can go to school in a safe environment. So I think we look at it all. Everything goes on the table, and we look at what is the best way to make sure that these things do not happen.
But what about the current protests and meetings that's being planned for Nashville today? Isn't that kind of saying that there's some serious division between, let's say, I don't know if it's the teachers or the parents or the citizens in Nashville towards the state of Tennessee? Could you kind of let people know a little bit about this protest?
I think people are angry. And a couple of things. One is that they should be angry. And then two, that anger morphs into a way of a protest, a way of expressing that anger, and then a demand for change, and a demand for reform, a demand for action. And so I think that's what you're seeing. Now, does it do what it's meant to do? And it might. You have to keep an eye on us. But I think there was a protest right next to the Capitol on the Legislative Plaza last Thursday, packed with young people, and then they spilled into the Capitol, and I think they made it very, very clear to our state legislature that they want steps taken. There's another one this morning, and there is another one this afternoon, and I think what the hope is that it does bring about significant change, and that people don't let up until those changes start coming. And even then, they don't stop. We keep going until we get significant changes, so that. But that's just in Tennessee. I mean, again, you got situations in Washington that need to be addressed. They can do a much broader. They can make much broader changes across this country, and they need to get together and make changes. And I know there are, again, it's just not Nashville. There are we've watched way too many situations across this country. So many. I think somebody said yesterday, like 349 mass shootings since Columbine. at schools. It's unacceptable. It is unacceptable in this country.
But I'm just kind of wondering, though, how do you really even treat mental health illness issues? Do you just have to get the people, put them in some type of institution? You have to monitor people better. You have to make sure whoever's being released from institutions that they're properly prepared. I mean, it's kind of a sticky point that someone, obviously, when you have this amount of people in the United States, it's going to be hard to monitor and track everybody. You're going to always have a few people that's going to slip through the cracks. But if we really have a system in place that we're really not serious or addressing mental health issues and other issues related towards that, it seems like to me it's going to be very difficult to really solve this problem. I mean, I don't know, Stan, you got any opinions?
I don't necessarily think it's inherently more difficult. It's, we're not talking about going around analyzing people's mental health and locking them up and taking them off the street.
Okay.
We're talking about giving people an outlet and making it socially acceptable to talk about those things. Of all the things that have been made socially acceptable in the last recent years, mental health isn't one of them.
Right.
So, I mean, I could identify as a pencil if I want to. But mental health, if you identify as being someone that feels that they need, mental health treatment, you're somehow treated as a second-class citizen. And that is not beneficial. All right? There are still officers who are under stress on the job, who will not take mental health as a first option. They almost have to be forced into it because they see it as a stigma and a sign of weakness. Until we understand that mental health is just as important as your physical.
Right.
People have no problem going to get a physical or going to the dentist or any other, physical treatment. Your brain is the most important part of your body. You are your mind. And so if people are under stress, they need to be able to have a place where they can go and talk about it. So that would be a first step. Otherwise, when people express themselves, they do so in an explosive way.
Right.
It's not always beneficial to, the society around you. It's just like if you decide you want to go off on a subway train.
Right.
You start throwing people's food around and punching people. Well, however you're expressing yourself, to you, I guess it feels fine. But to the people who you're affecting, it's far from fine. Had that individual had someone they could go talk to,
right,
things might be totally different. Yeah. I mean, as we've been saying, it's a discussion that really needs to be held. It needs to be held at, decision-making and policy-making levels,
right,
with some intentionality, that we're not coming out of this room till we have some short-term, long-term solutions. It's an all-inclusive thing. It's not just this or that. It's everything. And I think that we're finally at a place in America where that conversation is going to be had on all levels: the faith level, business level, the political level, the nonprofit level. Everyone needs to be thinking about these things and put it into play.
Well, again, and I definitely agree with just about everything that you said. And we're actually running out of time for this particular segment. So I do appreciate you being available this morning under tough circumstances to some degree, and don't want to take anything away from the rest of your day. But just one last question. Do you kind of feel, I would assume you and the mayor of Nashville, Jim Cooper, is pretty much on the same page. You probably have some slight differences, but overall you feel optimistic that you're on the same page. Wouldn't the big problem be the governor of Tennessee and the legislator? Do you really get a sense that you can kind of convince them, or they can convince you to kind of work a little bit more closer going on forward from now?
Well, so overall, there needs to be more communication, better overall working relationships across the board on everything. On this one, we all need to get on the same page. I know the governor had he was supposed to have dinner with one of the individuals that was killed. The governor was supposed to have dinner with, I think it was the substitute teacher, on Tuesday night, the day after she was killed. So everybody, Tennessee is a big state, but everybody has a connection, and this one hit home with everyone, and so we all. This is one where we all need to get on the same page and take immediate action on certain things, and then I think, as Stan said, kind of put everybody in a room, you lock the door, and you say, this is a problem in this country. We need to come up with solutions. And you don't come out until you come up with a plan and we start implementing. Some things we may implement don't work. Go back, keep working on it. We have got to keep working on this and find solutions.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's somewhat of a good way to end this particular segment, somewhat on an upbeat, positive note. And it's very unfortunate. I mean, it would have been nice just to have you or someone else from Nashville just to talk about the great city of Nashville and a lot of different things that's taking place in that particular city. But I felt this was a real important issue, and I wanted to really address this. And I give you a lot of credit, and I appreciate you being willing to come on this morning for this particular segment. And just briefly, if there's any last words you want to leave with us, feel free to do so.
Well, I'm sorry that I'm on for this reason. Nashville is a wonderful place, a great place to visit. But this is a serious issue, and we've seen it happen in so many places, and now it's happened here in Nashville. Mm-hmm. We all have a lot of work to do.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, and our condolences to the city on the loss that they're suffering, and to those of you who have to step in and deal with this. Godspeed to you, and thanks for taking time out of your schedule this morning to join us.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Take care. Okay.
All right, Jonathan. Very, very enlightening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely a conversation that everyone needs to have.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be important for cities that have not suffered this tragedy to start having this conversation before something happens.
Mm-hmm.
Because at this point, it's almost a matter of not if, but kind of like
when. Yes.
Stick and stay. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Take a short break. It is Morning Talk.
Friday, May 5th, 2023 at 7 p.m. is the Season 1 finale of Hartford's Got Talent at the famous Bushnell Theater in Hartford, Connecticut. Talent of all ages compete for $15,000 in cash prizes and awards. Don't miss it. Hartford's Got Talent, Friday, May 5th at the Bushnell in Hartford, Connecticut. Hartford's Got Talent, showcasing talent and connecting community. For more information, visit www.hartfordsgottalent.org.
How do you define evil? Is evil the pedophile school administrator or taxation without representation? Is it the gatekeeping community leaders who sell out the very people they were elected to fight for? Or is evil the politician that puts out lies and takes in cash? However you may classify evil, having to choose the lesser of two evils still leaves you with evil. Nowhere does this rule apply more than during an election for mayor. Choosing a candidate who is the lesser of two evils still leaves you with evil. No wonder so many people don't vote. It's time for the constituents to flip the script and vote for a mayor you can trust. My name is Jason McCauley. I am an independent thinker, and I approve this message. I'm asking you for your vote on Tuesday, September the 12th, 2023, in the Democratic Party primary election for mayor for the city of Hartford. I, like you, am an independent thinker. So let's sit down and talk about my path to victory and why my 5-point plan for Hartford will work. Stop listening to the uninformed evil interests that tell you I can't win. For more information, visit McCauleyformayor.com. Have the courage to vote your conscience. Vote for the name you trust and know. Vote McCauley for mayor.
Hi,
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and
Well,
you're
you're
watching
watching
accesstv.org.
Oh, yeah. Morning Talk. It's me, your host, J.C. McCauley, along with the champions of talk in Studio 1A. As he is every week, Jonathan Small is here with us. So welcome back, folks. Welcome back, Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was a real, serious conversation we had with the vice mayor of Nashville.
Yes,
I
very
picked up.
serious.
He looks like he's very concerned, but
Very concerned.
very serious-minded too, though. That
Yeah.
it's time to stop playing around and debating, and like you say, don't leave the room until something gets resolved.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like they have a strong form of government in Nashville too. The mayor form of government.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really get a chance to ask him about the regional approach, but we'll probably say that for another time.
Mm-hmm.
Just
It'd be good
focusing
to
on-
have him back, talk a little bit about their government, the vice mayor. I like the vice mayor.
You
The
like
vice
that?
mayor's elected.
elected position.
Yeah, so the vice mayor and the mayor.
And that city also has a deputy mayor. I was trying to actually get the deputy mayor for part 2, but I guess the deputy mayor is a different type of position. Like the vice mayor, I guess, can step in if the mayor is not able to run the administration. The deputy mayor in Nashville has another type of service that they provide, but I don't want to totally speculate without knowing for sure, but it's a little bit of a different
That'd
position.
be interesting to have them on board and to talk to them. See.
And I'm still working on getting a mayor from an urban city to talk about that particular city, which I feel is similar to Hartford. So still work. This is not the city, though. I don't want nobody to be misconfused, that I was planning to get the mayor to be a guest on. But I'm hearing some good things. I heard that Mayor Bronin said it's going to be 60 new businesses coming to downtown Hartford.
That'd be great. 60?
60, yes.
60.
60.
New
That's-
businesses.
I don't know if it's something about something coming to downtown Hartford. I would assume it have to be a business. What is
60 new jobs?
No, not
Businesses.
jobs.
Businesses?
Yeah. Or 60, well, if anything that comes downtown, if it's like a restaurant, would have to be a business. If there's a store, it would have to be a business.
All right. I mean, that's I think that's fabulous that there's going to be 60 new businesses, but that I had not heard that.
Look
that
into
doesn't
that.
mean anything.
Doesn't
that I
mean
haven't heard it. It doesn't mean anything that I haven't heard it.
Right.
Because
But the key seems to be Pratt Street, though. That seems to be the gel that everything is going to focus on. And I don't know if that was the street where the majority of the businesses are going to go to, but that seems to be like the main targeted.
What are they? Summertime pop-up businesses? Yeah, I don't mean to make light of it. I just don't know. I mean, 60 new businesses that's big news.
Yeah. Something about 60 things opening downtown. Whether it was something that was already closed, I don't want to say if something was closed and they're going to reopen it. That's not a new business. But definitely look into this new 60 new businesses that's being planned to start in downtown Hartford.
All right.
But there's a lot of things happening downtown. I mean, the housing obviously is coming together. But what's your take on Pratt Street? Do you think that's going to be the main downtown district that you see, Pratt Street?
Well, Pratt Street is, the potential for Pratt Street is off the hook.
Uh-huh.
And maybe we should get some of the Pratt Street movers and shakers to come on in here and talk about what the possibilities are on Pratt Street. Yeah, they shut down the state and they killed Pratt Street, as well as a whole lot of other things. I think a lot of people are realizing now that shutting down was not necessarily the best thing to do, particularly with 2020 hindsight. I got you. You didn't know what was ahead of you, so you took precautions. But half the country didn't take the same precautions, and they didn't suffer the same consequences.
Right.
So someone made a wrong decision somewhere, and we should learn from that rather than not. I don't say these things to cast blame, but rather to take a more effective approach in the future.
Right.
And yeah, I like Pratt Street. Pratt Street's a cool place. If Pratt Street was a destination for the people that lived in Hartford, Pratt Street be off the hook every night.
But what's stopping it from being a destination for the people of Hartford? Who's stopping you from going down?
Those are decisions that are made in the high places that exceed my pay grade right now.
No, but if I want to go to Pratt Street, I'm going to go to Pratt Street. I'm not going to be. I'm not. If I want to open a business,
so when's the last time you went to Pratt Street?
It might have been last year.
Oh, there you go.
But I mean,
I went to the mall this year for the first time in 3 years.
Yeah.
So I hope they're not waiting on me to make money.
Well, when I say
and I bought a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
I went there to get some for my daughters. I wound up buying a pair of shoes. And that was only because we were waiting. We had an hour, 20-minute wait at Texas Roadhouse.
Right.
Hour and 20 minutes. So we went to the mall. Other than that, I wouldn't have gone to the mall. My point is, once a year,
yeah, it's nothing.
You go to Pratt Street.
Right.
So why don't you go more often?
Well, maybe now what I'm hearing about new things opening up, things coming back, it's going to draw me to want to go to
there
Pratt
you
Street.
Go. If there was something that could draw you to Pratt Street, you would be there.
Right.
That's my point. There's not a lot going on that draws people that actually live in the city to Pratt Street. And that's intentional.
But see, that gets into other areas. People have told me the same thing. You got the Hartford Stage Company, but people that live in the city of Hartford don't seem to care about going to the Hartford Stage Company.
They would go to the stage if the Hartford Stage had stage presentations that were attractive to folk.
Yeah.
If Motley Crue is coming, don't expect church folk to go.
Yeah.
If you want church folk to go, have a gospel concert. So if you're going to attract people, you have to have an offering that is appealing to them.
Hey, I agree with that.
That's when people say if they put something on Pratt Street that draws people, they'll come.
Right. But you don't feel like it's like you just mentioned. It's going to be for the people that live in the city.
I don't.
Their interests.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm saying I don't know what's going on. But I've had conversations with people who are very big shakers and movers on Pratt Street. My last conversation was they were not necessarily happy with the way things were going, and that they had a vision for Pratt Street. They have a long-term investment on Pratt Street, and there's they want to see Pratt Street thrive and prosper. They at great personal expense to them.
Yeah.
They suffered mightily through the pandemic. And I hope that things can rebound for them.
Well, do you look at Blueback Square as the place for not just people in West Hartford, but for people from other parts of the region, or is it just designed just for West Hartford?
Well, it's not necessarily designed just for West Hartford, but West Hartford residents appreciate Blueback Square, and there are others outside of West Hartford residents that appreciate Blueback Square.
Right.
So Blueback Square is always humming and it's always popping. But if you've ever been to Blueback Square, walk around and you see Lexuses and Mercedes and Jaguars and Range Rovers and Teslas and Alfa Romeos, all parked up and long down the promenade and parking. You walk through the parking lot, you see all kind of and they're new, 2023, 2022.
Right.
Some got the new 2024 model before it even come out.
Yes.
Custom Ferraris, all kinds of, and I'm not making mean statements about people that have wealth. But when you have wealth and you have disposable income, that is part of West Hartford's, what West Hartford is.
Well,
now you don't see all of that going on over in the Elmwood section.
No, it's a different part of West Hartford.
That's a different part of West Hartford. So downtown West Hartford, there's a lot of affluential people, and affluential people will go out to eat and spend $200 or $300 on a meal for four. That's not happening in Hartford.
Well, I can say I go to Whole Foods grocery store and I see people writing out their checks, their MasterCards for $300 or $400 on groceries, and I can't do that every week.
Right, and if they build a Whole Foods in Hartford, they won't be able to do that.
Right.
So if you're building a Whole Foods in Hartford, you're not building it for people who can't go to Whole Foods now. You're building it as a magnet to bring people that can afford to shop at Whole Foods into the city.
Well, keep in mind though, now if I do go to Stop and Shop, which I'm kind of changing my grocery patterns. I used to go to Stop and Shop more than Whole Foods. Now it's going to Whole Foods more than Stop and Shop, but I still go to Stop and Shop.
Whole Foods has better grade of food.
You
are what you eat.
Right.
Food is medicine.
But I will say, if you go on the 3rd or the 1st to Stop and Shop and probably other grocery stores locally, I'll see 2 grocery bags because, it's the 1st of the month, food stamps, so I'm coming in. 2 carriages full of groceries. So people do have some form of disposable money. It's just where the money is coming from. When you go to Whole Foods, these people that can drop $300 or $400 every single week on groceries have a tremendous amount of wealth. When you go to a local grocery store at the 1st or the 3rd of the month, and you still see $300 or $400 worth of groceries or foods, these people have to rely on some government assistance. So the grocery stores are still getting the money. It's just they're getting it from 2 different sources. So you're right, Stan. A Whole Food store is not designed for urban inner city. But who's to say the people don't deserve good quality food?
Right. Now, I wouldn't say Whole Foods is not designed for urban inner city. Whole Foods costs more than people who are in the grips of poverty or are poor as a financial statement, not as a quality of life or intellectual capability. They just don't have a lot of money that is disposable.
Right.
Is out of reach for them. Whole Foods is a food store. They're not designed for anybody. It's just food. And so, it doesn't matter. If you want the quality of food they have at Whole Foods, it could be down at ACA Foods or over at Seatown.
Right.
It's still going to cost the same. It doesn't. The price of the food doesn't go down because it costs a certain amount of money for fresh tuna, if that's what you eat, or fresh particular kind of vegetables. There's a certain cost for that. Now, you don't have to get your cantaloupe and watermelon already cubed up for you at an exorbitant cost.
Right.
But high quality food should be available everywhere, even in the stores that are in Hartford, where some would claim that doesn't happen. Any store that doesn't have quality food or food that's spoiled or out of date, there's a process for that.
Well, truthfully, Whole Foods is one of the best grocery stores, not just in the greater Hartford area, but probably the state of Connecticut, if you really break it down.
People appreciate good quality food, and good quality food is something that you have to be intentional about buying. People spend money on medicine every month. Food is medicine, so they need to shift the priorities into eating wholesome food. Because if you eat wholesome, good food, you will be healthy.
But the thing about wholesome good food is it does come with a higher cost. And like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, but you know what? I would contend that bad food costs you more.
In the long run?
In the long run.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to pay one way or the other.
Right.
Either in diminished life,
mm-hmm.
right? So if you have a discrepancy, if you have, what do they call it? A disparity.
Mm-hmm.
The food disparities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, life expectancy in West Hartford is longer than in Hartford, right? Because you don't eat the right food.
But the thing about when you make these comparisons, and you mentioned this a lot about the grips of poverty, and then we're talking about the affluence of West Hartford, we need to figure out what is it that the people in West Hartford, the affluent area, probably 80% of the population, excluding the Elmwood section, what is it that they have that can generate wealth that the people grips in the inner city of Hartford and other inner cities don't have?
Better jobs. Lawyer, doctor, dentist, scientist, mathematician, college professor, CEO, executives, C-suite,
better education,
corporate suite people,
too.
Better education, and those people have a tendency to group up with one another.
Oh,
so before long, you have a whole lot of people that have a lot of good-paying jobs, and therefore they have more disposable income. It's not rocket science or magic.
But what's keeping it from implementing the people in the cities from changing their thinking patterns and better opportunities? I mean, something has to be blocking it.
Well, since education is the pathway to this kind of success, I would say poor education within the urban environment. If your kids can't read at the 3rd grade, you got a serious problem.
Right.
If kids attending school, that's a serious problem. So what hope for them is there if in the school they are not graduating at the top of the top percentile of kids that graduate in schools?
Well, you said last week that you're gonna make it as a priority for the youth. That's gonna be your number one.
It's always been it was my number one priority when I ran last time. It's been my number one priority as the president of the Greater Hartford African American Alliance, and it continues to be my number one priority now. And it was my number one priority before I ran for mayor. So youth are important because the youth are your future. You are what you eat, and you are your legacy. You are your kids. So we have to care enough about our kids to protect them, to jump. I'm jumping around. To protect them like we protect our money.
Yes.
You ever go to the bank on Albany Avenue?
The Bank of America? I've been there.
You ever go to the bank downtown? All of them got guards in them.
They do.
They all have guards. The bank across the street from me has a guard.
So that's protection, obviously.
Because money means something.
Right.
People protect their money, right? The kids, well, that's something different.
Well,
so are the young people and developing them a key priority, or are they just a revenue stream for adults?
Well, I think you've already answered that question in the past. That we talked about it last week. That the kids here locally can't be utilized as scapegoats. They got to be seriously intended to be a priority. And I don't want to say it's a disagreement, but it's a facts that you can't separate the youth from the rest of the community. And I say that by saying, I guess you heard over the weekend, Prince Tech basketball coach ends up being killed on Main Street.
Hit and run.
And a ruthless or reckless driver doesn't really care about really the youth or anybody to some degree. Now, I don't know all the circumstances. A lot of times these people are driving without license. They don't have no insurance. They got warrants. So it's not like me and you, we hit someone, we're going to stop. But you can't, but my point is you can't separate the adults and the other parts of the community from the youth.
We are all one community. But the youth are a very important part of the community because as adults age and die, young people are born into the world and need to be developed. And so youth development is a very special, it's a special skill set. And our youth are developed because we need them to continue on our legacy, but they are also going to be tomorrow's citizens. All right. So if you don't want tomorrow's citizens to be in the grips of poverty, you have to change. You have to change that. And we have, just like there's generational wealth, there's generational poverty.
Yeah.
And the cycle breaks when someone says, you know what, this is not going to work. You're going to learn. You will learn how to do this. You are going to go to school. You are going to do this. You're going to do that. And as a parent, I have a responsibility to make sure that you are educated. I could be hands off, and then what? We have chaos.
Yeah, but I don't know if you're missing the point, but I'll break it back down a little bit more. The youth are in the environments. And if you have public safety issues, and I know you're not ignoring these issues. I know you say that they have to be resolved. Right. But I don't know what you do first. I mean,
when you have a plan of 5 points, just like you have mental health and gun violence.
Right.
Which one do you fix first? You fix them both.
Simultaneously?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. It's not like we don't have the capacity to work on all of these at the same time. You don't have to just work on one, and then when you get the one solved, then work on another one. Because you get into that causality loop. Well, while we're working on the youth, the criminals again. So we need to work on that. Well, while we're working on that, what about the youth? You work on them all. It's not like there's only one person here. Okay. Government is huge. You have municipal government, state government, federal government, with all the people working in municipal government, with a school system. They got $500 million every year to solve problems. The city has institutions that they have a police department, they got a youth development department, health department. Well, all these people we can't get these problems solved.
But you work side, like you said, you can do them all.
Everyone needs to be focused on what it is they should be doing and working in concert with one another outside of silos so that we can get these issues handled without blaming one another for why they're not fixed. Fix it.
Well, let's hope all of the candidates, and I could be hypothetically speaking, because someone is going to become mayor. Hopefully it's you, Stan, but someone else, if it's not you, is going to take the realms of becoming mayor. And let's just hope that, we have a good choice of people that have the best interests in the citizens, because it serves no purpose, man. And I will say this. I had a friend, we was talking a couple of weeks ago about, what's the biggest problems that you wouldn't want you and your children and your family to come back into Hartford. And he said it's not even so much the gun violence, just the reckless driving, man. That's what really concerns him the most. We've had cases where people have been driving stolen cars, crashed into this woman on Collins Street or Collins and Sigourney Street waiting for the bus. I mean, it's just a deplorable standard of living, Stan, when people are not safe. You can say gun violence and bullets is one thing, and any innocent bystander could still get killed by a stray bullet. But if you look at the amount of reckless hit and run, and you said this before, Stan, that this is a serious problem, that you got a better chance, unfortunately, sometime of being hit or killed by a vehicle than you do a gun. And again, I don't have all the details, but if you can't walk across the street, and again, I don't want to speculate because I'm not there. I don't have the full investigation to report, but it looks like to me a person is just trying to cross the street, and someone just runs into you. I mean, again, I don't know for sure, but it seems like
it's crazy out there. Yesterday I spent 3 hours driving through every single neighborhood.
3 hours.
3 hours. I went to every single school in the city.
Oh.
I drove from Hartford City Hall to every school. I stopped. I went past every school. Every single school. It took me 3 hours. I was in Blue Hills. coming down, I think, Lime. Guy just blew through the intersection.
Yeah.
He just blew through it.
He didn't stop.
He didn't even stop. If I'm not mistaken, I'm almost sure I was on Tower Avenue. I mean, at the intersection of Tower. And I had stopped, and the guy in front of him had stopped. And he's coming down the street behind this guy. He went right around him and just blew right through the intersection.
Yeah.
Just blew through. He had to be doing at least 50.
Yeah, that's fast.
In Blue Hills, Tower, Lime.
Yeah.
It's just driving recklessly. So if you were, crossing the street, because both cars had stopped, and so you crossing the street, the guy coming down, and you step out, you figure it's safe because the cars you're looking at have stopped. He's blowing around the car and hit you. So there's this lawlessness. And people feeling and thinking they could do whatever they want, and they can do so without consequence.
Right.
And that mentality prevails. I can do whatever I want because it pleases me, and to hell with everybody else.
And they do it more in Hartford than the others. They think twice about West Hartford.
Right. It's done more in Hartford than it is in our surrounding suburbs. However, it's a national problem.
National problem, right?
As the standards start to decline, if there's no wrong, then everything's right. Even what used to be wrong. And once you get to that place, there are no more standards in society, and now it's individual right and wrong. It's situational ethics. Well, in this situation, it's okay to steal. Well, in that situation, it isn't. So we're going to arrest you. But I understand you were hungry, so you took food you needed desperately. So, I mean, it's always some shift. You can't have a society like that because before long, everything starts to disintegrate.
Right. Well, again, I mean, I think, there's things that can take place that could, prevent some things. I mean, all things is going to be, 100% guaranteed is just not realistic. But certainly you can change the ratio up a little bit differently than the way it currently exists now. And like you say, somebody's walking across that intersection thinking the two cars had stopped. You feel like, you're safe. Then all of a sudden, a car just drives, like you mentioned, 50 miles per hour or something in that, radius. And I told you, last year, when I looked at this vehicle driving through the intersection of Greenfield and Garden Street, this person had to at least be going 50 or 60 miles then. And, I just don't know. I can't really give no real... I got an idea, Stan, if you're driving without a license, insurance, you're driving with warrants, you're just impatient, you don't care about the rest of the community.
People don't care.
They don't care.
People that don't have licenses stop. If you care about a human being and a human life, then you're going to stop.
Right.
You're going to stop because you have passion and empathy.
But if you got warrants,
then you don't care. You care about yourself. The bottom line is still you don't care.
You don't care, right?
You don't care. Now that person would care if you hit someone they love.
Oh, definitely. They'd be ready to jump down your throat.
Right. But in a world that's more and more centered on me, my, I, what I feel, what I think, what I want is all that matters, and it doesn't matter what you want. You're supposed to adjust your world to me. When that becomes everybody's standard, then no one is immune. You got what I want, I take it. What? Because I need it. I need it more than you.
But again, as I mentioned, my friend and probably other people, what concerns them the most is the reckless driving. I mean,
it's very concerning. But there are ways that you can do that. It requires some, there are ways that you can mitigate
it, right?
Your reckless driving.
And you got to be serious enough to do something. You can't. I mean, Mayor Bronin was talking about one of the biggest problems. Again, it might not be completely connected to everything that, releasing a lot of people from the prison systems that shouldn't be released early and other those measures. releasing people unprepared to function back into society. I guess into the mental health issues to some degree that.
Well, people with mental health issues shouldn't be in prison. They should be getting mental health help.
Right. But some of these people are being released from mental institutions. I think in California, they are releasing a lot of people, releasing a lot of people from some mental health institutions, putting them back on the streets, and they ended up homelessness. I'm gonna look more into it, but something on this measure is that people are being released. Sometimes you don't have the capacity to keep everybody in mental health institutions.
Then we have serious problem. What we have is a problem with leadership. We don't have good executive leadership anymore. Mm-hmm. We have number crunchers and lawyers who are worried about how much we're going to save or what's our level of exposure. And the human factor is gone. The respect and love for human life. Life-affirming decisions. Not liberal decisions or conservative decisions. Life-affirming decisions. Decisions that are intended to make the quality of life that we live better. After all, that's why we're here, to live. So how can that quality of life get better? Not how can Bobby and his company make maximum money off of the citizens of Hartford.
Yeah.
And we contribute everybody to one another. So if you're letting people out of a mental institution that cannot support themselves, are a detriment to the society around them, what benefit is there in letting them out? Mm-hmm. There's no benefit to them. There's no benefit to the society around them. There's no benefit to their loved ones. Whatever got them in there to begin with should be being worked on. If it's not being worked on, then there's a problem with inside the institution. The people are not doing their jobs. So get rid of them and get someone that can actually get the job done.
Well, again, sometimes it could be budget.
But so
I know you don't like to hear this.
Right. So
budget constraints.
Because of budget constraints, we're going to let you out into the world. Well, what do you mean budget constraints? Are the patients there because they have a need and you honestly, truly want to help them, or are the patients a revenue stream?
Yeah.
That now that we're not making the profit we need, we have to get rid of them because we're not making enough of a profit.
Well, most medical hospitals might be a little bit different, but most hospitals and medical offices always ask, "You got insurance?"
And because they're in it for the money.
For the money, okay.
They're in it for the money. They're profit, and I don't this mess. Well, we're a non-profit. You're a non. Yeah, in theory and technically and on paper, you're a non-profit. But there's so much money that they have that they can do things like build 900-car garages.
Oh yeah.
And expand their operations and consolidate and bring doctors. It's a non-taxed entity. It's not non-profit. It's non-taxed.
Non-taxed, yeah.
And they're making hundreds of millions of dollars. And it gets passed on to salaries and all kinds of other stuff. But the patients are revenue streams.
Well, at the very least, if you're getting the proper medical treatment, if you're in a mental health institution, I don't know exactly what they do with you, but again, if it's a revenue stream and you're going to be released because, you run out of money and there's no other source.
And something is wrong with that picture. Something is very, very wrong with that picture. Very wrong. I can't speak to it without the facts, but something is wrong. Something's wrong.
Well, like you mentioned, anything that's a top priority, people find a way to get something done when it's a top priority.
Absolutely.
But when it's not a top priority, then all of a sudden anything that goes wrong, anything that's missing, then all of a sudden, it's put on the back burner. But like you mentioned, I do hear constantly about the liberals and the conservative approach. I hear more about that when you get into different political parties than anything else. the conservatives, we can't go along with the liberal approach. The liberals saying the conservatives just don't care enough.
Well,
I mean, I hear that.
They need to put people at the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
Forget the labels. How are people going to be served by what you do? All the people.
But they blame, though. I'm saying is one party blames the other for the conditions that the people are going
But that
through.
blame doesn't change anything, Jonathan. They just blaming each other so that while I'm blaming you, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
And while you're blaming me, we're not doing anything. The blame game.
Yeah, but what I also hear is that the right said, well, you keep voting for the same Democratic liberals, so until you give me a chance, what can I do? I mean,
The right says that like somehow they don't have a responsibility to go out and get people to bolster their numbers so they can change the vote.
Right.
They want to be lazy and talk about how the liberals are overtaken. Well, that you sitting there talking about it instead of getting out there, knocking on doors, telling people about what it is you believe and why they should join you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, conservatives spend more time on talk radio complaining than they do actually trying to get something done.
Right.
Which is why they're where they're at.
Now, truthfully, I told a relative up in Boston yesterday. He asked me, he asked me which political party. I told him that you're running for mayor.
I'm a Democrat. Been a Democrat.
But I also told him you had to switch from a Republican to a Democrat. Because
I switched from the Republican. I joined the Republican Party for like a year. I was independent.
Oh, okay.
I joined the Republican Party to run in 2007. After I lost, I joined the Democrat Party.
Right.
So I did switch parties in 2007.
Yeah, and I told him that.
Right. Well, he was born a Republican. Then when he was 6 years old, he joined the Democratic Youth Brigade. But he was really a Republican. I mean,
But see, I told him.
I've been endorsed by Republicans.
Right.
As was Pedro Segarra.
Right.
And he was on the Republican line and the Democrat line in 2011. People seem to forget about that.
They do. But see, the reason why I told him this up in Boston, I said a Republican realistically can't win a mayorship.
There's not enough of them in Hartford.
In Hartford. So maybe I was wrong telling him that you had to switch because you realistically can't become mayor as a Republican in Hartford. But I felt that was the best answer that I could give him. And a Republican just can't win a mayorship since the late Ann Usello in 1971.
Republicans could probably do better in Hartford if they got up off their behind and did something.
But there's no numbers, though.
There's no numbers because they don't do anything, Jonathan.
Right.
How can you expect numbers to grow if you're not actively trying to grow them?
Right. And give up on the
right. I mean, that's not limited. Republican limited. That can be applied to lots of things. Churches.
Yeah.
Churches complain about the numbers. What are you doing to increase your church's membership? Do you go out, knock on doors? You do any evangelistic crusade? I mean, what are you doing to help whatever it is you're involved with grow?
Well, I think you can grow the independent party system if there's an independent party system, and you're probably not going to grow the Republicans nowhere near the Democratic Party system in Hartford. But I think you could switch people or convince people to look at the independent side. That as a Republican.
Well, unfortunately, this whole party thing. I'm not a big fan.
You're not a big fan of
parties.
Right.
Any party.
But you have to be.
But the party system is present and it controls things.
Right.
The the reality is that the party system has become like a sports thing. It's like being a Yankees fan, and a Red Sox fan. They're just Red Sox fans,
right?
And they're Yankee fans, and if the two come into the same bar, there's gonna be a fight,
right?
And it's not about who has the better players. It's what's the best for the league. It's about their team. And so, or even worse, it's like a religion. You were born into a religion, therefore you must be that for your entire life. Well, you're born into a political party. That's the party that you have to be. And unless there's a conversion that everyone believes is real, and we see the outward manifestation of that conversion, then you're a heretic. Those kinds of things don't move us forward as it relates to political things. You know, but Brother Fred says gang mentality. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
You know, you didn't pledge up with our gang. You got the wrong colors on. We're gonna beat you to death in the alleyway. I mean, that's absurd. Where is the intentionality focused on people? And this is my time to take a self-serving political commercial break.
Right.
We'll be right back. Stick and stay.
You know something? Hartford's strength is the people. They're independent thinkers and love their city. So how did Hartford fall into the hands of rogue policymakers? Well, to start, this rogue group spent nearly $1 million putting themselves on the inside and leaving you out in the cold. What if I told you that $5 can be the difference between a Hartford with hope and vision or a Hartford that is in perpetual decline, increasing crime, and an educational system going nowhere fast? Your $5 contribution to our team is a statement that you are investing in Hartford's future. Your $5 contribution to McCauley for mayor will make you a member of the team, and together we will explore the possibilities. More than that, you will be demonstrating that Hartford's people are ready to make a stand with Stan. Our goal is to get the support of 5,000 people who live, work, and play in Hartford. I'm asking you to make a bold statement by contributing $5 right now, today. If you believe in Hartford and its people like I do, make that contribution. And together we will show Connecticut that the people of Hartford care enough to do our part. We are ready to pick up the ball and run. The people of Hartford are back in the game, and we're in it to win. My name is J. Sam McCauley, and I approve this message.
Oh, yeah.
Hi,
My name's J. Stan McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Yep. Okay, Jonathan, we're back.
Yeah, that's a nice commercial, Stan.
You like that, huh?
Nice. Get to the point commercial, straightforward. What, about 2 minutes?
Yeah, it's 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're good with the clock.
I just took a guess.
You're good with the clock.
I was not even sure.
That's 2 minutes.
2 minutes commercial.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have more commercials?
I have a total of 4 commercials.
More commercials.
4 commercials. There's independent thinkers. There's the lesser of 2 evils, and then there's the back room.
Okay.
That's 3, and then there's vote for Stan. That's a long. It's a song, but it's a commercial, a song commercial.
Okay.
And then there's this one, the $5.
$5.
Yeah, the $5 donor.
Well, let's get your campaign. You know, I'll be donating, but I would like to see. I don't know how your budget is going to run. If we can get some commercials.
We're trying to raise $3.5 million.
$1 million.
No, I'm,
Okay.
I'm just
Well,
joking.
I don't
No.
got that
I'm
kind of
just. I'm joking.
Okay.
I'm joking.
But you do want to get donations from people to support your campaign.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But Stan, how much does it cost to air a 30-second or a minute commercial on WFSB Channel 3? Is it real expensive?
Ooh, I don't know. Politically, you have to spend. It's generally, it's market rate.
Market rate?
Yeah, it's market rate. There's no cut rates for political commercials, and they're expensive. You need money if you're going to run ads on television.
On television. Okay.
Network. Oh yeah. It's very expensive. Very, very expensive. I don't know what it is. I can't even guess, but I could find out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then let's target if you feel you want to move in that direction, getting some money where you can get that type of TV commercial spot. I mean, I don't know if that's your strategy or not, Stan.
We have most of our commercials are designed for social media. They're not 30 seconds. The 5-minute long commercial will be very expensive.
No, but I mean like a 30-second commercial on Channel 3 or 61, and we help raise money that we can cover that cost, so it doesn't come out of your own pocket directly. I mean, I don't know how you feel about that approach, but I kind of like that approach.
I like that approach a lot. But when it comes to advertising, no matter what it is, a pet rock or a candidate whose head is filled with rocks, it's still required. There's certain rules and best practices to this, and so you have to have a campaign strategy. And one commercial is not it.
No, you're right.
You need 7 commercials minimum before people even pay attention to the thing, unless it just jumps out at you like a Super Bowl commercial. And so those are generally going to get one hit during the time of the game. And so those are multi-million-dollar projects, not just for the advertising airtime, but also for the production. The commercial is the most expensive production there is, because it's only a minute long. It's only 30 seconds long. And so the more you pay for the production, the writing, the acting, the production value, all that is very, very expensive. There is no limit as to how much you can spend. The magic is in spending almost nothing.
Yes.
And it making it look much more robust than it is. But yeah, you gotta do, in my mind, I would suggest
6 or 7. You said?
Oh no. I would say a minimum of 60 drops, and it needs to be television, radio, and print, followed by door deliveries. You need 7 pieces before the door. So 7 doors. You got 5,000 voters. You need 7 pieces of mail. 5 times 7 is what? That's 35. 35. So at a $1 a piece, that's now you have postage. So let's say $2 a piece. That would be $35,000. Is that right?
It sounds right.
Yeah, $35,000 at $1 a piece. Yeah, because it's seven items to the house, and it's 5,000 houses. And so that would be at $1, $35,000.
Right.
So if you want to send 2 items, that's 70,000. So just in mailers,
right,
you start seeing where this starts costing money. And the mayor was pumping out stuff. I mean, stuff was coming to the house like every other day.
Mayor Bronin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Every other day. Stuff was coming. Plus television commercials, radio commercials, TV commercials, downstate TV commercials. You spending the night in Manhattan, you saw a commercial for Luke Bronin.
Yeah. Well, he raised over $1 million again.
That's right. That's what the $1 million can do on the street. You can't compete against $1 million. The $1 million man.
But there's no other candidate in this mayoral election that has that kind of money or that kind of capacity to raise that kind of money. So the playing fields will be more equal.
Much more equal. Yeah, there are candidates who can raise some money now. Yeah. Right. We'll find out soon because the reporting has to be done by the 10th of this month. But the close-off date was the 31st. So everybody was in their big campaign raising strategy. You know, big fundraiser after fundraiser after fundraiser after fundraiser. So it's rumored that, several people should be in the $100,000 range.
Okay. Are you planning any fundraisers?
We will be planning fundraisers. Yes, we will be planning fundraisers.
Will you be getting a campaign manager?
We have a campaign manager.
You have a campaign manager?
Yeah, yeah. We got a campaign manager. We in fact, we're making our official launch is the 14th. Friday the 14th of this month in front of City Hall will be the official campaign kickoff for the McCauley for Mayor campaign.
That's about a week and a half.
Yeah, celebrate Tax Day.
Tax Day, yeah, the day before Tax Day. To do that.
Yeah. Which is the 18th in New England because of Boston has a holiday. And the tax people are in Boston.
Patriots Day, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, let's see how this thing shape out. I know y'all having some type of camp or mayoral forum this month. I looked at one of the local papers.
Yeah, that's the 13th.
The 13th, okay.
The 13th at the Upper Albany Merchants Association. Well, let me rephrase that. Colin Bennett Building. It's at the Colin Bennett Building. It's sponsored by and held by the Upper Albany Merchants Association. They're the ones. The forum is really for them. So I guess they're going to ask questions related to the Merchants Association of the candidates.
Right.
And so these things I think they're fun. I love the forums.
Well, you love running a campaign, or you love the whole camaraderie or the whole approach.
Well, it is fun. I must say, it is fun.
That's part of something that you enjoy.
Yeah, real time drama.
Okay.
But it's all in. It's all in.
Right.
Yeah. But there's no better time to run than now because, of course, there's no incumbent. And $1 million isn't on the street.
Right. And he was on a program, Mayor Broner was on one of the local programs yesterday, and the host was asking him again,
Is he going to endorse somebody?
Who you going to endorse? And he said he hasn't made up his mind yet. So, and he's not sure if he even is going to endorse anyone.
He probably won't. We'll see. It depends. Endorsements are big-time political decisions, particularly at his level, because he may want to go on to do something else, like Senate, Congress.
Right.
And if he endorses the wrong candidate, then he loses Hartford support.
Okay. So he just may not even endorse it.
He may do the old, I'm remaining neutral right now. Yeah.
Well, again, you said it's a little too early for you to get on certain media shows, like Real Stories on 61.
Well, anytime's a good time to be on those programs, but it's not advantageous to be on in terms of moving your political agenda forward because there's a whole lot of time between now and election.
But then you could always come back on later too.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Okay. You don't think? So it's no
One thing about not having been on, you could always say, "Well, you haven't had me on." But once you've been on, they don't have to have you back.
Right.
Right.
So keep that in mind too.
Right.
Do that.
Right.
Well, let's see how things shape out. I mean, obviously, it's going to get closer to
ice you out at the end of the race when you need the attention.
Yeah. Well, the guy on WTIC, the radio host,
Big Todd
Feinberg. Yeah, you have a good relationship with him, and you were on WTIC. You were on other radio shows last year. I forgot the morning show you was on last year. They done changed their hosts over the years.
Yeah,
but you was on that You
well,
was on
you know, the
morning-
relationship with these people are professional relationships. I
Professional.
mean, you know, I know a lot of these people because of what I do and things along that line. But when they're sitting behind that mic or they have a pen in their hand and they're writing, there's no friendship.
Okay.
It's there's no friendship. Their reputations are on the line, and so they're not going to compromise their professional reputation for that.
Well, Stan, I mean, I know you have a campaign manager, but obviously I have some strengths in getting media. I know I spoke to not the Reverend Henry Brown, who does the community activist, but the other Reverend Henry Brown. They're going to bring back their radio show on WRTC. Hopefully it'll be this month, but I got to talk to him again. And I told him that you were running for mayor, so he definitely said he would like to have you on that show. But I would love to see you on WTIC, WDRC radio. And you were on WDIC radio in the past. You was on the Dan Lovato show.
Oh, yeah, I've been on.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, now that it's time for elections,
yeah.
you know, we'll be on.
Okay.
When I say we, I mean the candidates will be on many shows.
Right.
Because Hartford's going to be a hot race. It's the capital city.
Right. And I would assume Yasha Barjona knows you're running for
Yeah.
mayor.
Yes. Dr. Barjona knows that I
He
am
knows
running.
You're right. Okay. But no big plans like it was proposed. Anything you working on that you might want?
You know, Dr. Barjona keeps things close to the cuff. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm a lot more wiser now. I'm not gonna go with the hype. 5,000 media communication.
Well, there's going to be 60 jobs downtown.
60 jobs. Yeah. There's jobs
Pratt
downtown,
Street.
Pratt Street. Yeah, I'm gonna look more into that too to
Yeah.
find out if this is real or just some type of hype about these new businesses coming downtown Hartford. That sounds impressive, but let's just make sure it's gonna happen too.
Right.
But Pratt Street is a jewel street that people are looking at as the model downtown street. But keep in mind, you got Madison Avenue in New York. You need one street sometime in your downtown to kind of jump and stand out to go along with your other streets too. But let's, like you say, make it for the people that live in the city, not just for a certain group of people to come in for them and not for people that's here. But if people think in the old days, see the older generation, people remember when downtown Hartford was for everybody. G Fox, they had 2,000 people.
Downtown Hartford is still
For everybody?
for everybody, but there isn't something downtown that's going to pull everybody in it.
But that's what I mean, how
That's
downtown used to be. Like G
Downtown
Fox was
used to be
everybody.
all there was. There was
All
no
there was.
mall. There was no anything. It was just downtown. So everyone came here.
Well, you did have West Farms Mall, but you didn't have the Buckland malls. When you came to Hartford in '79, you did technically have the West Farm Mall and Enfield Mall, but you didn't have the Buckland Mall. You didn't have Blue Back Square. That was non-existent.
Downtown was hopping when
Downtown
I first
was
came here.
hopping,
1979.
Oh, yeah.
1980, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85. Downtown was hopping.
The Civic
There was a
Center.
renaissance going on in
Renaissance.
Hartford. Yeah, in fact, they were so afraid that they were putting condo blocks on buildings
Okay.
because they thought the condos were going to take over everything. Because I lived in a Richardson downtown, and I remember them having 100-year condo block
Right.
because everything was popping up. Everything was turning into condos. Willard Street condos. I mean, every time you turn around, it was a new condo. And they were afraid that the condos were going to take over and supplant opportunities for people to have apartments. The cycle goes on. This is round and round and round.
All right. Well, like I say, I mean, that was a good, interesting show this morning.
It was, John. Good show.
Hopefully, you kind of pull it off tonight, and that'll be a nice moment for Connecticut to get a 5th national championship game. And look forward to your programs if you're going to have some Wednesday and Friday.
Oh, yeah.
And let me work on getting a guest for next Monday. Looking for a big entertainer. So that's going to take a little work. Trying to have at least one entertainer per month.
All right.
And let's maybe work on that.
Well, maybe we can get Dr. Bonjour to come back.
Oh, yeah. I never talked to
You want me to make that happen for you, John?
Well, hold on. You had him on though.
I've had him on other times. He'll come.
He'll come.
Yeah.
But see, the thing about it is, I gotta bite my tongue and not bring up Y3K.
Yeah, just don't bring that up.
Yeah, I gotta adjust myself before
he'll leave in the middle of the show.
Exactly. I can't bring that up again.
All right, we're out of time, folks. We'll see you next time. You'll have a great rest of your day.
Take care.
Bye now.